Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
K-pop demon hunters Haja Boy's breakfast meal and Huntrix meal have just dropped at McDonald's. They're calling this a battle for the fans. What do you say to that, Rumi?
It's not a battle. So glad the Saja Boys could take breakfast and give our meal the rest of the day.
It is an honor to share.
No, it's our honor.
It is our larger honor.
No, really. Stop.
You can really feel the respect in this battle. Pick a meal to pick a side.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. At participating McDonald's while supplies last.
Hey, this is Joe's sister Nikki. I think I might be the only girl in the world who has a brother who spends his entire day in the basement pretending he has an internet radio show.
Live from Joe's mom's basement, it's the Stacking Benjamin Show. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and get ready to get schooled up on 401ks because today we're helping you tweak your retirement funds for a better outcome. And guess who's joining us for this shindig? She's just been voted one of the top 10 financial advisors online. It's the woman behind Sophia Financial, our friend Stephanie McCullough. Plus, a master of money and the one woman who will actually put up with us every week, Paula Pant. And rounding out our panel, it's Albert Einstein. Nah, he said something about meeting with a relative or relativity maybe, I don't know. So we got his smarter older brother, Len Penzo, instead. But that's not all. Halfway through the show, I'll share my assembly-required trivia question. And now, a guy who knows how to prepare for the future, it's Joe Saul-Sehy.
Well, hey, Stackers, and happy Friday to you. I have spent so much time prepping for today because we're hopefully going to help you make your way to $1 million using your retirement plan. And to get there, although, Doug, you so eloquently said hello to all of our guests, let's hear all their voices, and we'll start deep under Los Angeles, where it looks like, on my dad's shortwave radio, it appears he's wearing an LA Kings t-shirt. Is that Mr. Len Penzo?
Yes, it is, and I'm wearing that to try and stay cool. It's so hot here. By the way, I'm in the middle here of I'm going to the dentist tomorrow, and so as you know, I have my routine when I go to the dentist. I never floss ever, except 3 days before I go to the dentist. So I'm in that time period.
I just don't.
Every time I've told you now, the hygienist can never tell. They always compliment me on how good of a flosser I am. And all you have to do is do it 3 days before you go to the dentist. So
it's like Len found a loophole. He's all excited about it.
It is a loophole.
Why is like getting by the hygienist like the meaning of life?
He's like he's preparing to meet St. Peter at the gates. Instead, it's his hygienist who's the one he's worried about.
It's my 3-day training period for the dentist.
Len is like, see, all the flossing around my 4 remaining teeth is pretty good. It's pretty great. And the woman joining us from a high-rise over Manhattan, Paula Pant from Afford Anything is here. How are you?
I am fantastic. I am also trying to beat the heat. I've got 3 out of 4 shades drawn, but of course the one that isn't drawn is like shining bright on my face.
Right in your face. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, but here I am. I also had to turn the air conditioner off in order to be on this show because this my microphone is located right next to my AC. So
of course it is.
Exactly.
Which Paul's like, so we got to get on with it. Let's get on with it.
No, it's cool. It's free hot yoga.
So if we see you sweating during the trivia, it's not because you're nervous about the trivia.
Yeah, people think Paula's getting in the second half of the show. She's sweating out the answers to all the questions. That might not be the case. And a woman, we're always super happy she's here, but I wasn't surprised here what Doug mentioned earlier when I saw her name in the list of the top 10 financial planners online. Stephanie McCullough is here. Congratulations, girlfriend.
Thanks, Joe. Great to see you guys. I'm happy to be here. I'll just say that I'm always warm despite the weather because I'm just at that phase of life. So I've got my fan blowing on me at all times.
She's got her human warming condition going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Cheryl is like, when is this going to end? She's like, at some point, she will go from everything's fine to all of a sudden she's a heater.
This is my new company swag I bought because I figured if I see women, in my target demographic and I hand out fans, they'll appreciate that I get them.
And that is for people not watching the YouTube version of the show. That's a pretty sweet fan you got there.
Thank you.
But tell everybody about your podcast because you have a ton of fun on the podcast. Tell everyone about it.
We do. So we call it Take Back Retirement, which is a nod to my Gen Xers. When I was in college, we had the Take Back the Night marches, which were against violence against women. So we've been going about 2.5 years now. My co-host Kevin Gaines and I, he's, I think back to Donnie and Marie. He's a little bit kind of geeky and quantitative, and I'm a little bit touchy-feely.
And you're a little bit rock and roll?
Totally. Yeah, absolutely.
My God, I thought I made old people references.
There you go. I'm all in.
Doug's like, we're connecting. We're connecting with a guest.
Marie references.
Absolutely. Well, Stephanie, super happy that you're here. We got Stephanie, we got Paula, we got Len, we got Doug. We're going to help people hopefully use their 401k better today, maybe starting with some legislation. There's a new piece out about that. We're going to kick things off there. But before that, Stephanie, since you were here last time, we got some new rules of the road. Do you know do you know the new rules?
I do not. Fill me in.
All right. Well, I see you're sitting down, so just hold on, and we're going to hit this button right here. In business, there is no room for guesswork. Every shipment matters. Every deadline counts. And when you're trying to keep operations running smoothly, the last thing you need is uncertainty. That's why reliability is at the core of USPS Ground Advantage. From the moment your package is first scanned in, it moves through a secure nationwide network, aiding in a timely and accurate delivery. You get near real-time tracking so you can keep up with your shipments. And with affordable upfront pricing, there are no hidden fees or surprise surcharges to throw off your cost sheets. It all adds up to predictable deliveries you can depend on, because knowing your logistics are handled lets you focus on everything else, your customers, your team, and the future you're building. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to start shipping with confidence. USPS Ground Advantage. We mean business.
Wait a minute. That didn't sound like rules of the road.
Oh, my bad. Hold on. I'm going to press this one. I had a breakfast mentoring meeting yesterday with a young woman who was just amazing. She is graduating from college with a degree in wealth management, and she reached out hoping for some pointers. And listen, if somebody's in Texarkana and wants to go into this beautiful field of personal finance and helping people get their money together, that is incredible. But even more incredible is how she reached out, how she was trying to network. And I was having a discussion that finding the right person and avoiding the wrong person for a role, that's what can make or break an organization. And we just don't see that many qualified people. So how do you find them? Well, Indeed sponsored jobs is a boost whenever you need to find quality talent. If you're hiring, Indeed is all you need. You can stop struggling to get your job post even seen on other sites. You'll match with quality candidates with Indeed's sponsored jobs. Get matched with and hire quality candidates who can drive the results you need. Reach candidates who meet your specific criteria like skills, certifications, or location. It drives me crazy when I'm matched with all kinds of people who aren't a fit. I don't have that kind of time. People are finding quality hires on Indeed right now. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. Sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed are 95% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsored jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all the boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored job. And here's what's cool, Stackers. You're going to get $75 in sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/Stackers. Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support Stacking Benjamins by saying you heard about Indeed right here at Stacking Benjamins. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. I guess that means, Stephanie, there may not be any rules for the road.
Awesome.
Sorry. Now we're ready to kick things off. Let's go. Today's piece comes to us from Investment News, which is an industry rag for financial professionals. This is written by Emil Halaz. Emil writes, 401ks need private equity and real estate, study says. 401k plans are missing out on $35 billion with a B dollars a year in returns they could see if they incorporated private equity and real estate. A recent report from Georgetown University Center for Retirement Initiatives found. Stephanie, let's start with you, because somebody who's helping clients all the time with 401k plans. First of all, real estate, a lot of people listening to this might go, wait a minute, I got a REIT in my 401k. I got a REIT fund. They're not talking about REIT funds though, are they?
They're not. They're talking about private investments that are illiquid and generally hard to access for your, average investor.
And what does private equity mean for people that don't know that phrase either?
That's another thing that's gonna, not available unless you're an accredited investor. So it's investing in private companies. And, you hear about PE firms and buying into companies and then maybe not always doing what other folks might want them to do. But there can be high returns and there can be a lot of risk. You can invest in private equity and your money can go poof and you get nothing back. So it's high risk, potentially high return. It's a different asset class than you normally get in your 401k, which I guess is what the article's trying to get at.
Yeah, Paula, this says that it's Georgetown University Center of Retirement. I think this must be pretty smart people. But when you read this, adding private equity and illiquid real estate funds to your 401k, what was your first thought?
Well, generally, I think that allowing people access to investments that are typically closed off to them, as a principle, I like that concept. I've long thought that the rules around who gets to be an accredited investor are a little bit too arbitrary. So in order to become an accredited investor, you have to have either a certain net worth or a certain income. What they are trying to do is they're trying to use that net worth and or that income as a proxy for your sophistication as an investor. I think that's a totally bogus way. If what they're trying to test for is your sophistication as an investor, why not just give everyone an investing test the same way you give people a driver's test, right? You have to prove that you can drive to get a driver's license. Take a test, and then regardless of your income, regardless of your net worth, if you pass the test, you've proven that you're sophisticated and you can access investments that an accredited investor does. So I would support, I like the idea of opening up, broadly speaking, opening up investments to people who might be highly sophisticated, but simply don't have the income level or the net worth to be able to access that upper echelon of investments. That said, by putting it in a 401k and making it available to everyone without some type of standard to prove that they know what they're doing, that could also be problematic.
Yeah, Paula, just go out onto any lake on July 4th, and that proves that having money doesn't mean that you're qualified to do something. Because a lot of people own boats that don't know what the hell they're doing.
There's a 401k analogy there. A lot of people got a 401k. They got no idea what they're doing. Len, what did you think when you first read this?
Well, you know me. I was like, well, that's like Stephanie said. Potential high returns also means potential high risk, and I think there's a few things that people don't think about too. On some those like private equity investments, you can't access those funds right away sometimes, and I'm not going to profess to know why that is. I guess it's because the money is tied up. And it's supposed to be, you're supposed to be waiting for, the returns to come down the road. So you just can't put the money in and pull it out like a stock. So those are restrictions that I think a lot of people might be caught unaware with. And if you're like me, an old guy who's able to start accessing those retirement funds, you may end up getting surprised when you try to pull the money out and you find out you can't get it. It's not there. So, it's not like a stock. It's not like just buying stocks and they're highly liquid and you can buy it and pull and sell it in the same day within 10 minutes if you want. But it is a little different. And so, I think there should be a little bit of knowledge before you jump into something like that.
Do you like the idea of Paula's idea of changing the accredited investor requirement to get rid of this net worth thing and instead be some type of a financial literacy quiz?
Well, yeah, I mean, the libertarian that I am, to me, it's like everybody, you're responsible for yourself. So that's up to you. If you want to jump in, that's great. I do know there's some things, there's some investments I had jumped into, some funds I jumped into that I couldn't get in unless I had it wasn't based on income or net worth. It was based on how much you were willing to put, a minimum investment amount. So that's a little bit different. So, you had to put in X dollars. If you couldn't pony up the money, they wouldn't let you into the fund. So, I mean, that's just another way. But generally, I'm for, it's caveat emptor, buyer beware. But that's just me. I know there's a lot of people that think people should be protected from themselves.
How much was the down payment on that boat, Len?
Right.
Stephanie, back to you. I used to work with people all the time, and my first thought when I read this was just because you could get $35 billion or more, and I understand asset allocation, I understand how the process works. I tend to agree that maybe if you use these alternatives correctly, but it was never about the investments. Kind of to Paula's point about, like opening up the investments, it was about the people. I never saw people using the investments that they already have available correctly. Is that kind of what you see?
Oh my gosh, so much. I remember years ago when I was, the point person for a retirement plan at a hospital, and this guy called up and he was really upset because his performance was terrible. And I was able to go online and see, and his performance was terrible. So I went back and saw what happened. So he would get his paycheck on a Friday, and then he'd, log in every day and see his account. And every time after the account went down, he'd sell it and go to cash. And then the next paycheck, he'd invest it and he'd wait till it went down, then he'd sell it. So he was locking in all the negative returns and getting none of the positive. That's why he was having bad performance. So to some extent, people maybe do have to be protected from themselves because no one really teaches us about this stuff and how to use it wisely, except for the Stacking Benjamins podcast.
Of course.
Although I know we don't learn anything.
So smooth.
You were kissing up to us fine till that last remark, Stephanie. You were so close.
Yeah. But I think that's the danger is, giving people the tools without the knowledge.
Do you like Paula's idea of maybe a quiz? Yeah, Len?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to, in the 401ks now, I know when I first started, 401ks were pretty simple. There was a few funds you could jump into and that was it. And by the time I retired, oh my God, I had so many selections in my 401k. Yeah. I can see how people will get confused and it's like, I mean, it's all out there. It's all, you can look it up and it'll explain in excruciating detail what each fund is, but most people don't even bother to do that. And I can just see how people will get completely confused or overwhelmed with all the choices that they have now in 401ks.
Yeah, I don't know what you think, Stephanie, but I don't think more choices, because I saw that too. I don't think more choices has made people better investors.
No, and that was kind of the trend I saw back when I started, 26 years ago. The trend was more and more funds, and you'd have a lineup of like 60 funds. So I think the trend towards target date funds, where all you have to pick is the year closest to the year you think you're going to retire, I think that is a big help to people. And then it's up to the investment company to decide the allocation, which of course, can be problematic also. So I think fewer choices, as long as they're the good choices. And that puts more onus again on the investment committee and on the employers to be making sure that they're doing the right thing.
And I still don't see, Paula, with fund fees going down, right? And better controls, these lawsuits, lots of lawsuits that were rightfully filed to make sure that fund fees stayed low. I'm still not seeing people becoming better investors with their 401k, even though we've got the low fees that we all say is the problem.
I think that speaks to the distinction between what is mathematically true and what is behaviorally true. And so, this research might point to what is mathematically true if a person were to behave in very specific ways. But it doesn't quite speak to investor behavior, investor psychology, the way that humans actually act.
Len, what type of a 401k investor were you? I would imagine you were probably a set it and forget it kind of guy.
Well, in my early years, I was ridiculously overly cautious, and I learned a big mistake. It took me a few years to realize, I was being stupid, and I was wasting my younger years when I had more time to overcome any problems with those risks. It took me a while to change. Like I said, early on, I was risk averse. Then I wised up and I took more risks until I got a little closer to retirement. And then as I got closer to retirement, I started backing off again on the risks because, it's all about time, really. As long as you have the time to recover, you can wait out any storm usually. So that's your time horizon. It's very, very important when you're investing.
Paula, somebody wrote me about the show talking about how some of our advice just seems like not that helpful. Oh. And specifically, they were talking about, well, you talk about just behavior. You're not talking about like all the hot new investments out there and investing for today. And I wrote back that investing hasn't truly changed that much. And we're actually making the same stupid mistakes we were making 15 years ago and 30 years ago. I mean, the mistakes haven't changed. Do you think that people, if the only thing they have available to them is a retirement plan at work, like a 401k, a 403b, a 457, can you become wealthy with that one tool?
Yes. Yes, 100% yes.
Stephanie?
Oh, totally. It's really set up in a great manner. It is fix it and forget it. You decide what percent you want to put in. You learn to live on what your take home is after your contributions. And then, you go forward and, oh gosh, you check in a couple years later. Hey, there's money there. So I do think it, used correctly, it can be a great tool.
Len, do you think so?
Yeah, it's all about saving. Investing is saving. So it's just saving kind of with juiced returns, assuming you make smart, intelligent decisions. You can't go wrong doing that. I mean, even back when interest rates were consistently 5, 6, 7%, I remember my grandma who just had, her only income was her, Social Security for many, many years. When she passed away, she had quite an amount of money saved up. She was financially comfortable, we found out, after she passed away, just because she was such a good saver and earning just, 4 or 5% from her bank. So yeah, I think absolutely a 401k, if you do it right, it's even better than having it in a bank account.
I asked you all that question just to counter some of the TikTok stuff that I see about 401ks are a ripoff. 401ks are stupid. You shouldn't put money in your 401k. And I see these, and some of these people have, tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of followers, in a couple cases, millions of followers. And I can't believe it. Listen to these statistics. 80% of millionaires invested in their 401k or similar retirement plan at work. 80% of them. And then second, a lot of people think that, of course, millionaires were handed a lot of their money, right? Len, you were talking about your grandmother, who you found out was very comfortable. 80% of millionaires didn't receive any inheritance. None at all. Zero. Zip. Let's dive into 401ks then. And before we go to our trivia contest, I just want to ask you all briefly some of the mistakes you see people make with their 401ks. Len, you talked earlier about being too cautious at first, and I really like that as a mistake. Can you compound on that?
Yeah. Another issue I made once I started getting riskier, I finally overcame my risk aversion problem when I was younger. But then when I, started taking more risks, I had another issue that it took me another year or two to figure out, hey, this was probably not a good idea. And I was using my stock, my 401k, like I was a day trader almost. I was in and out of funds. I was looking at performance and I'd get in and out and out. And I think it's because of guys like me that, at least at my work, they started saying, okay, enough of this. And they started they forced us to hold funds for like 30 days, or we'd be charged like 1.5% or something like that. But even then, it almost never seemed to work properly. Me doing the day trading, I would have been so much better off if I just stayed in the darn fund. And, and part of that was because I was checking the darn 401k too often too. So yeah, I think that's another big issue with 401ks, with people trying to manage their 401ks.
Well, that goes back, Len, I think, to what you said, Stephanie, earlier about the guy that would lock in his losses all the time. He's kind of trying to day trade too.
Yeah.
What's a mistake that you see quite often, Stephanie?
So there was a study I read about years ago that said the biggest determinant of the ending balance in your 401k, it's not the funds you picked, it's not the timing of when you put the money in, it's how much you contributed to the plan. I mean, duh, right? When you read it, you're like, oh, of course. But I think that's the big mistake, is not taking advantage of it. Certainly, if there's a match from your employer, it seems like you've got to at least put the minimum in to get every dollar extra from the matching funds from your employer. But then put in more. I'll tell you, it always feels like it's not a good time. Like, oh, I've got so many expenses now, or my income's not very high now, or I've got student loans now. Oh, now I've got kids. There's always something. But your future is going to be there, and future you is going to be so happy if you put some more money into that retirement plan. Because, no one ever got to retirement. It's like, shoot, I wish I hadn't saved so much.
I'm going to ask you a question after our trivia break about how you do that, about how you actually get more in when you don't think you can afford more. But Paula, what's a 401k mistake you see quite often?
So I agree with Stephanie that what she just named is the single biggest mistake, which is not making enough contributions. Another mistake is borrowing against it. How many calls, Joe, have you and I taken, right? Where people are like, I'm thinking about borrowing it against my 401k because of X. And usually it's they want to buy a house, they want to buy a rental property, they want to they saw some TikTok that told them that they should.
Want to buy a boat for the 4th of July party out on the lake.
Exactly. Borrowing against your 401k, I can't think of a single instance in which it would be a good idea.
I totally agree. Worse is I think back to most of those people who asked us about borrowing against their 401k, Paula. Most of them also quoted the phrase, a friend told me this was probably a good place to get money.
Right.
That drives me crazy. Like how pervasive this is. Like, oh, there's, I don't know, some group of people running around spreading misinformation. Not that that would happen in our society. There's no misinformation at all. Yeah. All right. We're going to leave it right there. In the second half of this discussion, I want to now flip this. We talked about problems in the 401k, the fact that while reform may help with your 401k the way it is now, you probably can get to be a millionaire using it the way it is. However, we're going to help you use it better. But before we do that, at the halfway point of every show, we have this ridiculous trivia competition between our three. Did I say ridiculous? I meant amazing competition between our three contributors.
This is my one contribution to the show, and you're calling it ridiculous?
I totally missed it.
You'll have my resignation letter post haste.
This amazing fireworks-laden trivia competition. It's a year long. It's for a huge prize, this traveling trophy that Karen bought at the dollar store, Karen, our producer. And it's pretty amazing. Stephanie, today you're playing on behalf of OG, who's won the last 2 years in a row, which is amazing. But that brings some good news and some bad news. Do you want the good news or the bad news first?
Give me the good news.
The good news is you get to guess last because the bad news is OG's in last place this year.
Oh, no.
We are now over halfway through the year, and OG somehow has beaten Paula back and held on to last place. And for people new to the show, I'm not being mean. Paula usually by this time of the year has sunk to last.
She sucks more than she does now.
Yeah,
usually.
Consistently. Very consistently.
OG has 7. Paula has 8 with another big win last week. What? Mr. Penzo is at 11. Woo! Len, you're not even here, and the people sitting in for you even help you get ahead. So Len with a huge lead here at the end of July. So will Len continue? Can Stephanie help OG pull Paula back to her rightful place and tie for last place? Or can Paula continue to defy gravity? We need a question. So, Doug, it's up to you, man. What are we talking about this week?
Hey there, everybody. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and today's all about building. You know, I'm quite the builder myself. I probably shouldn't brag, but okay, maybe just a little. Not only do I do the announcing for our sister show over at Stacking Deeds, but I once was an understudy for a Legoland builder. I mean, if you ever got stuck, my job was to fill in and hand the correct colored brick to the real builders. I loved it. But way too much pressure. I mean, just one time, you bump into a display that took like a month to build, and everybody gets all bent out of shape. Jeez, those Lego people are wired tight. Speaking of building, today's date in history is a big one for people building furniture everywhere. It's the anniversary of the founding of IKEA. Many people think it's an acronym for endless arguments, but it actually stands for Ingvar Kamprad Elmtarid Agunarid.
So smooth.
You're a native speaker, I can tell.
It's better every time I do it, isn't it? The I and the K are the initials of the then 17-year-old founder's name, and the E and the A are the farm and village where he grew up. I can't understand why you'd want to abbreviate that. I mean, his real name just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? This is such a good trivia topic. I'm having a hard time narrowing down today's question. I mean, I could go with something like, how many Swedish meatballs do they sell in a year? Or that just feels like it's going to turn into a circular argument. So, no, if that's not a Len joke, I don't know what is. How about this one? How many of those little put-it-together manuals are printed every year? Or more importantly, how many people think they can do it without the manual every year? Nah, no one wants to hear about that stat. Here's what I've wondered for a long time. How many Europeans are conceived on an IKEA bed every year? The answer, this is a real stat, is 1 out of 10, if you were wondering. But here's another question. How many were conceived on that bed when it was still in the showroom? Huh? That's what I want to know. Who's got that stat? Here's another one. How about how many marriages have broken up assembling IKEA furniture? There's so many possible IKEA trivia questions, but I probably should keep it simple, just like their instruction manuals. Not. So, hey, let's go with this one. Here's your trivia question. You still paying attention, contestants?
Already? Already.
Just to make a short story long, what year was IKEA founded? That should be easy. I'll be back right after I go find my old Legos. All this talk is giving me the building itch. I'm in the mood to create a masterpiece.
I think it was a masterpiece of a trivia question there, Doug.
Sure was.
So let's start off with Mr. Penzo. IKEA. You shop at IKEA?
Not anymore. I did when I was younger. Yeah, that was my go-to place. But I kind of outgrow that. My daughter goes there all the time for the meatballs, just to get the Swedish meatballs. Yeah. And what is it then? The Langerberry sauce or whatever it's called there.
Oh, yeah. Every year around the holidays, we do those. Yeah. For me, it's my replacement wine glass place. Ah. Like when we break wine glasses,
so you're there every
week? We go
week?
there because I'm there weekly. Yes. I'll be there after this show because I broke 3 during your trivia.
Just smashed them against the wall.
It felt so good, Paula.
Like it's a Greek wedding at Joe's house every day.
Cathartic. But anyway, Len, didn't mean to intercede.
No, you know
Continue.
I have no idea, but for some reason it seems like it's like a 1960s company, just to me. I don't know. I could be completely wrong. So I'm going to say 1968.
Man, a great year to be born that was. It's fantastic. I'm just saying, not that I'd have any experience, but man, that's a kick-ass year. Specifically February of that year. Amazing. Paula, what do you think about that? 1968.
My guess is going to be 1960, but I will explain my reasoning after the next guess.
Oh,
she sounds confident there. That's what I think.
Paula's got some strategery going on, Stephanie.
Uh-oh. Well, I was going to have to brag about my birth year, but that I'm not sure that's strategically the thing to do. So I will go with my brother's 1969.
1969. So she takes the under, which means you've got everything 1969 and beyond.
You mean she takes the, she takes the up.
Yeah. Yeah.
The upside, which is the under.
I know. I got half of that. I got halfway through that. I'm like, how do you, yeah.
She takes the upside of the numbers, which is the smaller of the more recent of the timelines.
The age, right.
I think you start that phrase, Paula, with she be taking. she. Yeah. All right. Paula, so why'd you choose 1960?
So in the question, Doug mentioned that the founder was 17 years old when he started the company. So assuming that he's roughly around 80 years old right now, which I believe is to be the case, that would mean that he would be born in roughly 1943 And if he was 17 when he started the company, that puts it at 1960.
Well, that's brilliant.
Wow.
Very well done.
Wow.
If you know his age, yeah, you've nailed it.
Well, let's see who's right, but we're not going to tell you that yet. We're going to let you guys all feel the anticipation while we bring you this.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
What would you do if your online store converted 36% more shoppers? You could take 36% more vacation.
Another pina colada?
Yes, please.
Open a new retail location with 36% more square feet.
Fantastic.
Hire 36% more help.
You're hired and you're hired.
Shopify has the world's best converting checkout, up to 36% better than other e-commerce platforms. What you do with those extra sales is up to you. Switch to Shopify today at shopify.com/listen and get a $1 trial. Shopify.com/listen.
Len, you kicked it off with the best year in history, 1968. You got surrounded after that. How are you feeling with your 1968 bid now?
Well, I think I'm in the ballpark. I don't know. Sounds like Paula's got a good handle on it, though. So, hey, who knows?
But I don't know what year he was. I don't know how old he is. I'm guessing him to be around 80. But if he's 85 or 88,
What if he's 45?
I doubt. I highly doubt that.
Really? Maybe. You feeling confident?
Well, because I feel relatively confident that he's alive, because I don't remember from the previous decade any news articles like, founder of IKEA passed away. So I feel relatively confident that he's alive, but he is most likely an elderly gentleman. So I'm guessing that he's going to be in his 80s-ish.
I think with the name...
Maybe in his 90s.
With the name like Ingvar Kamprad being broadcast on major news channels in the U.S., you'd be like, what? Who? Stephanie, 1969. Feeling good?
Well, the one that came to my head was also the same one Len picked, 68.
Get out of here, really?
And I was born in 67 February. It was true. That's what popped in my head.
Well, February what?
I was going to go with 67 because February 67 is the best time to be born.
Oh,
19th.
Second best, Stephanie. But
oh my
anyway.
God, you're the 19th, and I'm February 17th, and Joe is February 16th.
Isn't that?
Oh my gosh!
That is
you
so
believe that?
wild.
My husband's the 23rd. My daughter's the 25th.
Oh my God, we're surrounded. My grandparents were the.
My wife is February 9th,
14th, and
Okay,
17th.
lots of people were born in February. We get it.
No, just cool people.
No, you don't get it
best
because
month.
it's the best month.
Yeah.
It's the greatest
Okay.
month.
Point made.
So was Abe Lincoln and George Washington.
Just saying.
It's my turn to talk now, Joe.
Everybody's like, can we go into the trivia anytime soon? We got 19.
Hey, this is still not longer than his intro for this question.
Got 14 minutes to go. We got 1968 from Len. We got 69 from Stephanie. 1960 from Paula. Who's closest? Doug, what's our answer?
Hey there, stackers. I'm Lego builder and master IKEA assembler, Joe's mom's neighbor Doug. And on today's date in history, the suburbs version of a corn maze was born. That's right, IKEA was founded on July 28th by a 17-year-old in a remote area of Sweden called Almhult. Nailed it. Its remote location led to the company launching its soon-to-be famous catalog. Who knew getting customers to assemble their own furniture could become a $44 billion business? Well, I guess Ingvar Kamprad did. So my question was, what year was IKEA founded? Well, Stephanie was just 26 years off. Len was just 25 years off. Paula was off by 17 years because it was 1943 when IKEA was founded in Sweden. And that means the universe will continue to be out of balance because Paula is our winner.
Woo!
What the hell's going on?
It also means the owner of IKEA is like 120 years old.
Well, no. So
that would make him 97.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. He died on January 27th, 2018 at age 91 in Almhult, Sweden.
Clearly, we all missed that news story.
Totally.
Apparently we did. Even though, maybe it's because we didn't have Doug's excellent pronunciation. That's probably why. Time for the second half of this show. Second half is brought to you by depositaccounts.com. Stephanie, you know what happens when you go to depositaccounts.com?
I do not.
You find that those savings account rates, CD rates, checking account rates, money market rates you're getting from your brick and mortar bank might not be the best available. At depositaccounts.com by LendingTree, they look at all the different rates. As an example, as we record this, which is a little bit before you're hearing it, so head to deposit accounts for the real numbers. The national average on a savings account, 0.42%. Top 1% average, according to deposit accounts, 4.53%. If you get any of them in the top 1%, 4.53. CD rates, listen to this, national average, 3.56 for a one-year CD. Top 1% average, 5.46. And a money market rate, national average 0.71, top 1%, 4.26. Find all the rates to compare banks and credit union rates, by the way, at depositaccounts.com. Did you know that, Steph?
I did not.
Isn't that amazing?
Very happy to know it.
So amazing. Even more amazing is you guys are going to help our stackers do better with their 401k plans. So let's set this up. Len, you talked about being too conservative when you started your 401k. We got plenty of stackers out there just beginning with their 401k. So if they're starting out, how do we make it more aggressive without going too far?
Well, stay light on the bonds, I would say. You want to go into those stocks. And then now there's different stock funds. The basic ones, you can do the Dow, which is the simple, or you can do the S&P. You can do the NASDAQ, and if the tech ones are the small companies. Usually if you go with the tech funds or the small company funds, you get a little more aggressive, right? So those will be a little more aggressive than maybe the Dow fund. So, you want to be balanced. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, but make sure you're spread out and you're a little lighter on bonds when you're first starting out. Because, if you're going to do like I did, I really penalized myself early on being way too heavy in what they call a stable value fund, which, yes, I know I did it when I was young. I was stupid. Or even bonds. You're just not going to get those returns. So kind of stay heavier on the stock end. And if you're some of those stocks, you want to make sure get maybe more aggressive stock funds, like maybe small companies or technology companies, stuff like that.
Len's like the mistakes of my youth, being in a stable value fund.
Well, you know me, Paula. I'm always risk averse, but I mean, just think you're being young and you're really not knowledgeable. You're just getting, and then you're just compounding. It's just a terrible mistake. But hey, we learn more from our mistakes than we do from our victories, right?
Why is, though, there's people yelling at their device right now, though, Len, going, why is it a mistake to be in a stable fund? I mean, if it's stable and it can't go down, isn't that a good thing? Why is it a mistake to be in the stable
value? Well, because of time. Again, I mentioned about your time horizon, right? And time is, when we talk about compounding growth, you need time. Time is a big factor there. And the longer your timeline is, the more you can compound your growth. If you're earning 2% or 1% in a stable value fund, the compounding is not very aggressive. It's not very impressive at all. You want to compound bigger returns. So really get that oomph and have that shot at being a millionaire, having $1 million in your 401k or more when you retire.
Yeah. No, I love that advice because, the way I look at it, Len, is that, with inflation traditionally at 3 or 4%, if you're earning 3 or 4%, you're just staying even, which means you have to save dollar for dollar for your retirement. Who the hell can live today and save dollar for dollar for you? Can't do it.
You can't do it.
And there's you're going to very safely go nowhere by using a stable value fund.
Exactly.
Way too safe. But time in those stock funds gives you a better approach. Paula, he talked about diversifying. Is there a way you like to think about diversifying those funds inside a 401k?
Sure. There are a couple of different approaches that you can take. There's what's called the barbell allocation, which is having that's essentially a way of stating that you don't have bonds. You have all stocks and then you have cash. So it's like you've got the two, if you're picking up a barbell, you've got the two extreme ends of that barbell. That's one way that you can do it. The other way that you can do it is that stock bond mix or equity bond mix. And I mean, the ballpark to start from is your age in bonds with the remainder in equities. And then if you feel like that's maybe a little bit too conservative, you can aggressive it up by, your age You
mean your percentage, your age as a percentage? Is that what you mean?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
I think that's way too conservative.
Yeah.
Tons of publications say that, and I think you'll get where you want to go, but you could be a lot more.
Yeah, I think it's too conservative as well. It's like, it's a nice, for beginners, it's kind of a nice way to just take this overwhelming idea of asset allocation and make it feel very simple. But yeah, I agree. I think it's a little bit too conservative, but you can just start with that and then adjust it by 10% or 20%.
Especially if you're Len's age. He'd have 101%.
He was friends with Ingvar before he died. Yeah. We used to go over to his house, put furniture together. Paula, another way to start out for people, thinking about this at the beginning, the thing I love about this book called A Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins is that you can get there with one fund. I mean, you can use one fund. What I really like about J.L. Collins' book is not whether the asset allocation is good or bad. I think that's irrelevant. I think the magic of his book is stop worrying so much about it. Look at how much, Len, you really, smoked your returns because you were overly worried about risk. And I think J.L. Collins does a great job of saying, listen, don't worry about that. Choose a single fund. And he gives you a widely diversified fund, the total market index. And don't worry about it. I mean, Paula, don't you like that? That to me is the way to go.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting? So the title of the book is very apt, A Simple Path to Wealth. So what J.L. Collins outlines is the simplest possible approach that is still reasonable and sound. I have no objection to his approach. One thing that I do notice, however, is sometimes I will see among my more sophisticated listeners, I will see some confusion because they're like, man, I'm hearing this, from J.L. Collins, but then I also am hearing this from, these other sources.
Me too.
I think it's important to recognize that what is simple is not necessarily optimal. You can either take the simple approach, which is what J.L. Collins outlines, and go just VTSAX all the way, or you can go learn what the efficient frontier is. But those are two very different parties that you're choosing.
Yeah, well said. It always drives me crazy when people sophisticated every other piece of their life decide not to explore the idea of better diversification, which would be so much more efficient and so much better. But I love it if you're 25. If you're 25, forget about it because your asset allocation doesn't matter. Stephanie, you're aggressively shaking your head or nodding your head, but I don't want to ask you about that. I want to pivot if you don't mind. Feel free to talk about that if you want. But what I want to ask you about is what you said in the first part, which is save a little more. And then you mentioned, well, you think you can't save more. So how do you as a financial planner trick people into saving money they don't think they have to get more in that 401k?
Well, I will just make one comment on the investment choices if I could, because I'm a huge fan of the freaking target date funds. They're not always perfect and they're not always great. But when I started in the industry, the default investment option for retirement plans was the money market, which is back to Len's stable value type option, right? That's not going to get anybody anywhere. And then they changed the rules. So the default is now a target date fund. You could do a lot worse than being in a target date fund. It's simple. You pick one. It's already asset allocated and diversified for you. And then you worry about the other things. And you worry about putting more in, right? To your question.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think people maybe kind of get conceptually, but don't realize what it means is that most contributions into a 401k, 403b, 457b are pre-tax. Now, a lot of plans you can do Roth, which is sometimes a good idea. But the idea that it's pre-tax means that if I'm going to put in $100 extra per paycheck, my take-home pay doesn't go down by $100 because they take out the $100, then they calculate your tax. So you're paying less tax now. So I always tell people, try it, bump it up a few percent. If you're thinking about a range, maybe I'll do 10%, maybe I'll do 12%. Try 12%. See if you can live with it for a couple months. If you can't, you're going to go in and change it down. But if you try at 10 and you think, maybe I could bump it up, you're not going to get around to logging in and bumping it up. So go for that higher amount. Remember, it's not dollar for dollar because it's pre-tax. And then, adjust if you need to.
It's amazing how many times when people took that challenge, people called me and said, I had to go back in and lower it. And by amazing, I mean, it never happened. It never,
right?
Never once did somebody call me in 16 years and go, I had to lower it later. I couldn't do it. Yeah.
You adjust.
Yeah, just challenge yourself. It's wild when you don't have that money in your paycheck. You totally adjust. Len, when it comes to you putting money into your 401k, how did you decide how much to put in?
Well, when I was younger, I started at the minimum, which was the company match. And then I vowed, and I was faithful to this, that every year I would put half of my raise, I would bump my 401k allocation. I would use half of that raise into the 401k. So within, several years, I was, pretty much at 10 or 15%, going fully into the 401k, which was nice. So, and what's nice is when you use your raise a portion of your raise to funnel that into the 401k, you never miss the money. You don't miss it. It's like it's totally painless. The only thing that happens is you got more money going into your 401k. But as far as your everyday living and discretionary, you never miss it. And, it's really nice. There are some companies also that, you can tell them automatically. You'll say, hey, every year I want you to bump my 401k allocation by this %. And they'll do that too. That's another, just, make it automated. You don't have to think about it.
I love, Stephanie, how Len called the match the minimum, because you and I know the match is not the minimum. You can put in a heck of a lot less if you want to. And I was never surprised to see tons of people not putting in even that much.
Oh, yeah. You can put in zero. I remember when I was, back at the hospital, a 62-year-old housekeeper came in one day to sign up for the plan. She had worked for the hospital for 30 years, and she'd never signed up for the 403B because she was intimidated by it. And we walked through it. We explained it, got her signed up. And then she stood up and gave me a giant hug at the end. She said, I was so scared to come in and talk to you. Because I think for a lot of people, this stuff is intimidating and scary. And then, they lead to head in the sand behavior, which is never the right way to go.
No, we were talking about that the other day at one of our meetups. I had a client back when I was an advisor, and Len, you'll appreciate this. He said, Joe, I look at this like going to the dentist. I always feel great afterwards, but ahead of time, I can't stand coming here. Like, I don't want to go. I don't want to look at it. He just didn't want to open the thing. He didn't want to see it. Like, if you don't see it, it's not there.
You look at that match. If you don't take that match, you're leaving money on the table. So that's the first way to look at it. Yeah. The other way that I like to look at it is, it's kind of like an insurance policy. If you're kind of afraid of losing money in the 401k because the market takes a downturn, look at it as an insurance policy. That's an instant 100% return that you're getting on what the company's matching you. So at least up to that match, that's an instant 100% return. And so if the market does go down, look at it this way. Half of that money that was contributed by your employer anyways, and they're absorbing some of that risk for you. So,
but on that point, Len, I've met lots of people who say, oh, there's no match in my plan, therefore I should not contribute. I should not participate. And that's flawed reasoning as well, because it's such a nice, easy way to build your assets on a tax-favored basis, fix it and forget it. We keep talking about match, but if you don't have a match, still please participate in your plan.
Yeah, I don't have that statistic handy, but there's a ton of millionaires that got there without match.
Yeah, everybody's point's better than mine. But Joe, you might remember a few episodes ago, we were talking about this. And I think OG brought up the example. It might've been his dad, if I remember right, where he's like, I'm not giving those jokers any more of my money, because he thought that it was the company's management that was helping to manage the 401k, or like he was giving them the money and then they were investing it. And there are people out there who still feel like, well, since it's sort of through my company and through my paycheck, and I don't believe in the leadership of my company, and this place is a joke, so I'm not giving them any money. And it's important, I think, for especially people who are just learning about their personal finances, ideally, many of our listeners, that they have nothing to do with it, right?
No, they have a custodian. They have a professional company that invests it. Often it's a company you've heard of, like Fidelity or Vanguard or Schwab, T. Rowe Price, some big name company that you've heard of before. An offshoot of that, Doug, is that Len earlier talked about investing in his own company, right? Putting money into the stock there. Paula, if somebody's got their individual stock for their company or individual stocks available in their company, how do you feel about investing in that?
Not great. I understand why a person would want to do it, and oftentimes they can get a special price on the shares, but you lack diversification when you do that, because not only are you dependent on this particular company for your paycheck, and for many people, you're dependent on it for 100% of your paycheck, like meaning that is your one and only job, right? So it's already your only source of income. And if in addition to that, you are also then investing in it, you're putting a lot of exposure into just one single company.
Stephanie, anything we forgot? Any good last piece of advice that you've got for our stackers to use their 401k better?
Oh, I would totally want to agree with Paula. You know, some people say like, oh no, I know the management. This company's great. It's only going up. But there are so many unforeseen possible risks out there, right? I mean, there could be a negative regulatory ruling that goes against the company and all of a sudden the share price goes to pot. Heck, a giant sinkhole could swallow headquarters. Like, we don't know, right? Like, so there is no company that is immune from all risk.
You got to watch too, because some of those matches are companies will match in company stock. You got to watch that. So go in, and if you want to reduce that risk of having too much company stock, make sure you're reallocating, because it doesn't take long for that company stock to make up a big percentage of your 401k if they're matching in stock.
I think it's a great point. I think that's a great place to leave this discussion. By the way, I'll leave people with just two more things. Number one is remember your beneficiary designation on your 401k. You're going to have one. And too many times I've seen people that were surprised that their ex-spouse was their beneficiary on their 401k still, and they disinherited their entire family because the ex-spouse didn't really feel like giving the money back. And you can't get takebacks. So check that. And then second, in our show notes, we'll have a link to the episode where we actually went over when you retire, what to do with the 401k. We talk about when to roll it over, when not to roll it over. And that was another great roundtable discussion we had. We're going to leave it there. We'll go to our guest of honor, Stephanie, last to find out what you guys are doing in the amazing places where you work full-time, not here with us just on a weekly basis at Stacking Benjamins. But Len, let's start with you, man. What's happening at lenpenzo.com?
Well, I'm working on my sandwich survey. It won't be out until the 7th of August, but I'm going to be hitting the store and doing my price survey in preparation for my annual brown bag lunch sandwich survey.
That's fabulous. You've been nice enough to, you're going to come on the show and do that again with us too.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Yep.
It's going to be, I look forward to that every year. And the last couple of years, we've gotten some good national media, Len, around that. Again, we'll see if the media attention with all the inflation we've had lately, you know, I can't remember. Do you do egg salad sandwich?
Yes, of course we do egg salad sandwich. Yes.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what the inflation is there.
I can smell it already.
Yes. Paula, what's going on at Afford Anything?
On the Afford Anything podcast, we have an economics professor named Peter Atwater who talks to us about the role of confidence in the performance of financial markets. So when things are highly uncertain, and or when people feel like they do not have a strong sense of control, both of those things diminish confidence. And when we as a society in aggregate have low confidence, that shows up in market performance. So he comes on to discuss that and how we can look for indicators and how we manage our portfolios accordingly.
Stephanie, you made this episode so much better by being here. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Well, tell me what's going on at the podcast.
So our most recent episode is one of our Real Retirement Stories series. So a woman I met recently, Gretchen, aka G-Rex, on her own podcast, whose name I can't actually say on the air. She shares the fact that when she faced her retirement date, she started having mental health struggles and actually went through a series of major depression. She luckily got help and got through it, but she is very open and vulnerable about sharing, you know, the kind of loss of identity and loss of community that she was worried about facing after a long, successful career.
But those aren't, Stephanie, just ghosts that she's worried about. Those are real things that happen to real. I mean, I've seen this. You've seen them too. The studies on that, like people go through this whole emotional roller coaster.
Totally.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm excited to share that one.
And that's at the Take Back Retirement podcast, wherever finer podcasts are found. All right, that's going to do it for today. Big thanks to everybody for hanging out with us today. I hope you got a lot out of this. Make sure that you follow us on social media and tell us what you thought about today's episode. Was there something that we forgot? Is there some place where how did you either do the right thing with your 401k, or if you're really brave, tell other stackers how you messed it up. I always feel great when people are able to help other people by saying how they messed stuff up. Like Len today, talking about not not having things aggressive enough. But either way, just reach out and say hi. All right, Doug, you've got it from here, man. What should we have learned today?
Well, Joe, first, take some advice from our panel and leverage your 401k to build wealth. Second, don't make the mistake of borrowing against your 401k. Nothing can hose your retirement plans faster. Unless, of course, you're not saving at all. Make a plan and stay the course. But the big lesson? Forget about IKEA boudoir furniture. Sweden's real contribution to culture is death metal bands. There's like 37 metal bands for every 100,000 people in Sweden. And how do they keep getting voted world's happiest country when their bands are named like Dark Funeral and Entombed? Hey, Joe, we got to get their marketing department if they can make that country happiest. Thanks to Stephanie McCullough for joining us today. You can find her podcast, Take Back Retirement, wherever finer podcasts are found. We'll also include links in our show notes at stackingbenjamins.com. Thanks to Len Penzo for joining us today. You can find Len at lenpenzo.com/railwaysupernerd. Thanks also to Paula for joining us today. You can check out her amazing podcast, Afford Anything, wherever you're listening to me right now. This show is the property of SB Podcasts, LLC, copyright 2023, and is created by Joe Salcihai. Our producer is Karen Repine. This show was written by Lacey Langford, who's also the host of the Military Money Show, with help from me, Joe, and Doc G from the Earn and Invest podcast. Kevin Bailey helps us take a deeper dive into all the topics covered on each episode in our newsletter called The 201. You'll find the 411 on all things money at the 201. Just visit stackingbenjamins.com/201. Tina Eichenberg makes the video version of this show. Once we bottle up all this goodness, we ship it to our engineer, the amazing Steve Stewart. Steve helps the rest of our team sound nearly as good as I do right now. Want to chat with friends about the show later? Mom's friend Gertrude and Kate Yunkin are our social media coordinators, and Gertrude is the room mother in our Facebook group called The Basement. So, say hello when you see us posting online. To join all the basement fun with other stackers, type stackingbenjamins.com/basement. Not only should you not take advice from these nerds, don't take advice from people you don't know. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before making any financial decisions, speak with a real financial advisor. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and we'll see you next time back here at the Stacking Benjamins Show.
Len, I was just up in Minnesota, and I thought you might like this. We went to this museum in Duluth, and I bought this shirt.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. I love it. I love it.
Isn't that kick-ass?
Yeah, that's kick-ass. That's very cool.
Nobody has any idea what you guys are talking about and what you're so excited about, Len. It's a podcast.
And then, Len, I caught a fish this big.
The Great Northern Railroad. That's very cool. Let's see. Great. I think they were bought out by the Burlington Northern Railroad, actually.
And all these, I just fell asleep.
In all the mergers, which was in turn bought by the Santa Fe, Burlington Northern Santa Fe.
Yeah, BNSF.
BNSF.
I went to a museum in Duluth that was a railroad museum, and it was amazing. It was fabulous. If anybody gets to go to Duluth. Stephanie, you're shaking your head. Have you been to Duluth?
I have not, ever.
No.
I'm putting it on my list.
You're like vigorously shaking your head. I'm like, she must have been there before.
Nope.
Yeah. It was pretty awesome.
That is cool.
I highly recommend it. What was really neat was they had a display, and this sounds like it would be super boring, but it was amazing. And it was all of the china that they used on their, long trips. So it had all their logos on it. So the plates you ate off of, if you took the one of the Union Pacific trains or the Great Northern trains or they were beautiful. Like the stuff people ate off back in the day was amazing.
The fancy dining cars.
Yeah. Yeah. It didn't come in a little box that they threw at you, Stephanie, like on an airplane today.
Yeah.
Or a little, plastic cup where you're super excited when they give you the entire Sprite instead of just making you drink just the little.
Even up to a decade ago, was it maybe a decade ago, maybe a little more? My folks used to take the train cross country, and they'd take the Amtrak, and they'd get a sleeper, and they enjoyed it. It's a great way to travel cross country if you're not in a hurry and you'd like to see. You see some great scenery when you're crossing the country.
I love taking it. I've just taken it to Dallas. The bad news is it dips down and then comes back up. So where you can drive to Dallas in 2.5 hours, it takes 5 on the train. But the cool thing is somebody else is doing the driving. And if I have the time and I've got some work I want to do, I've taken it, I think, 3 times now.
If you're ever in Southern California, you just want to take a quick, just kind of get a taste of what train travel's like. There won't be a sleeper thing, but you can take, like, for example, the Pacific Surfliner between San Luis Obispo and San Diego, and you can get on between. There's stops along the way. And it follows the coast the whole way, maybe almost the whole way. And it's beautiful. Absolutely
fabulous.
Beautiful. So, and it's
fantastic.
Kids would love it.
The other thing we did, we were at Voyager National Park, and there's like very little cell service. And so I'm driving around because most of the park you can only see via water, and they call it Voyager National Park. I never knew this. Does anybody know why it's called Voyager National Park? Here's a quiz question. Doug, you might know. You follow the big parks.
I'm going to guess it has something to do with the French fur traders and them voyaging. Yeah,
it is. And that was exactly what they were called. They were called the Voyagers. And they would get these furs, and they would get them from the native tribes that lived across the northern United States-Canadian border, and they would sail all the way through the St. Lawrence Seaway. They go 3,000 miles with these things. 3,000. Can you imagine being in a canoe for 3,000 miles? Cool. It reminds me, Paula, of that time that you sent me a text where you ran like 200 yards accidentally. and you were like, you do this for fun?
I thought that I was going to be late for a Stacking Benjamins recording. And so I ran for like 2 whole minutes, and I sent Joe a text. I was like, man, worst 2 minutes of my life.
I'm with you, Paula.
There's almost no cell service, almost none. But when we drive the boat around, I would just look for service because I'm in this fantasy baseball league and I had to change my lineup every day. It was pretty stupid, nerdy. But the big thing is all my music's on streaming. Like Stephanie, do you have any CDs at home anymore?
I have so many CDs, I don't know how to get rid of them. I don't listen to them, but
do
they're
you?
like, I got zillions. What do I do with them?
I got rid of mine. There was actually a group that we had partnered with for a while a few years ago, and I used them. You could scan them using the scanner, using the camera on your phone. You could scan the little code. They would tell you how much they give you for the CD, pack them in a box, and they would give you money for. So I got rid of almost every CD that I owned.
Wow. I might have to do that.
I would say don't do that, though. They're actually getting a lot more popular, kind of like how vinyl has made a comeback. I think Len and I have talked about this. CDs are coming back with a lot of the kids who are trying to be cool retro audiophiles because they have amazing sound quality. A lot of them do. And, they've got that old school unique vibe to them. I kept all of mine, and my son, who's way into that sort of thing, he's got probably a third of mine, and I've got several hundred more waiting for him to take. I want to get rid of them myself, but I would not get rid of them, Stephanie. They could be like Beanie Babies. They could be worth a load of money.
Collector's items.
But I remember 8-track tapes. It's sad that the CDs, which were like the newfangled music version, are the old school stuff now.
Yeah. They sound a little bit better than 8-track.
There are CDs that have gone out of print too. I mean most of them now, but even there were some that were only briefly in print. And if you have one of those, they are worth some bucks.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, the ones you can't stream now, Len, the things that didn't transfer over to streaming services.
Couldn't get the rights,
that are gone.
I've got a John Lee Hooker album that I can't find anywhere else, and so I haven't looked at a value, Len, but it might be one of those.
Yeah.
Doug just said he found a hooker that nobody else could find.
There aren't a lot of them in northern Michigan, Joe. They're all in canoes for 3,000 miles trying to get here.
Doug feels like he's been in canoe for 3,000 miles. But
see how I brought that full circle? The great comedians bring it full circle.
So I don't own any CDs except one. I own one CD. So Len, I've got a video and I'll see if I can put this up in the Basement Facebook group, but we jammed for 4 days to the Relics.
You did? Oh, well, fantastic.
I did. Yeah. My family's like, who is this? This is really good. And I'm like, this is Len's band. They're like, no. I'm like, yeah, it's fantastic.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So my whole family has memorized your album.
Well, that's great. Maybe I should give you a whole bunch of them. You can start giving them away, Joe, because I probably got 200 or 300 still under my stairs.
Well, we got to sell those things. We could sell them now.
You should come to New York. People they stand at Times Square and hand out free CDs. Yeah.
Do they really?
It's a thing. Yeah. And there are even these signs, permanent signs that are, affixed in Times Square that says if someone hands you a CD, it's free. Donations are optional. And they're like public service announcements put up by the authorities.
What the hell's a CD of?
Bands trying to make a break.
Idea.
Yeah, they're just musicians who are trying to get people to listen to them.
Yeah, but apparently enough tourists have been browbeaten for like a mandatory donation that they had to put up signs saying the CDs are free.
An optional mandatory donation.
Yeah.
Like when the person at the bakery turns that iPad around and they're staring at you and it says, "Would you like to give a tip?"
Yeah.
And all I did was took your order and I'm going to go over and get the stuff myself. Would you like to give a tip? And they're staring at you while you put that in.
Cool ocean breeze through my hair feels great as I travel aboard PCH. How I love this old stretch of road just outside SLO. Carry on, ocean highway, carry me home. I'm gonna take this old highway as far as it goes. One last ride for old time's sake. Seems I've been swimming in circles the last 7 years.